Picture this, you walk into a multi-million-dollar recording studio back in the day. We're talking huge analog console, racks and racks of outboard gear in the corner. But if you look closely at those devices, the engineers and producers, they didn't spend hours and hours endlessly tweaking, going through 50 parameters to dial in a reverb. Instead, they'd dialed in their absolute sweet spots for each of those reverbs. If they wanted an epic room sound for their drums, something short and focused for their bass, or something more luscious for synths, sax, vocals, guitars, whatever it might be, they didn't reach for the manual, they just reached for the fader and brought those reverbs in. And that exact effortless workflow is the philosophy behind our brand new plugin, Legends Verb. With Legends Verb, we wanted to capture that big-time console experience. You get breathtaking reverbs from legendary hardware-inspired reverb devices spanning different eras, and they're all dialed into perfection. When we started building Legends Verb, we only planned on including a couple of the classic reverbs that we grew up using and loved, but we got a little obsessed. What started out as a handful of presets quickly spiraled into a massive collection of 23 incredible reverb programs spanning decades of legendary studio history. In today's video, my bandmate Hutch is going to show you how he uses Legends Verb across a complete mix, and then I'll fire up some guitar tones and show you some of my favorite programs from the 23 that you can choose from. Let's dive in.
Hi, Hutch here, and it is my honour and privilege to introduce you to the Legends Reverb by Polychrome DSP. Now, this reverb is an absolute game changer for me, and I'll tell you why. This one plugin has 23 different programs. That's 23 different reverbs. And what this means for me, and why it is a game changer, is it means I don't have to hunt through and use multiple plugins in a project. So normally I would have one reverb for a room, one different reverb for a larger sound, and I would have one for a more dreamy ambient reverb. Here, everything is in the one place. So what that means is it's very easy to get to the sound that you want. So you're not going to lose objectivity of your music, and you're going to stay in creative flow, which is super important to me. So I'm going to take you through some case examples in a typical project. First up, we've got this big 80s snare sound. So I'm just going to play you it dry, and then I'll add the reverb, and then I'll tell you how I've set the reverb up. So it's dry, punchy, but we need to add some life to this. So here's the reverb. In order to get this reverb to sit nicely with that snare, we've got a pre-delay here, and I'm using a timed synced pre-delay. Here, there's a sync button, you put that on, and you've got your musical subdivision. So I'm using a 30-second note here, which just nicely cleans up the front end of that snare. If you look at the top here of the plugin, we've got ducking. Now what this ducking does is it just turns down, attenuates that reverb. So every time the snare hits, it turns the reverb down. And again, that just retains the punch of that snare. Because one problem that I'll have with reverbs is that you get the sound that you want, but then it completely swamps out that reverb, and it loses all of its power. So here you can retain all of that very, very easily. I needed something with vibe. I wanted to imagine a neon cityscape on a rainy day with puddles and the reflections and all that sort of stuff. I needed to be put into an 80s narrative, and this did it. So I found a suitable sound. So that's dry. I just found that reverb. There was hardly any dialing in. The only thing I needed to do was adjust the wet and dry. Absolutely killer sound, brilliant. Here I've just got a very simple arpeggio 16th note pattern. The thing with this is I didn't want to use a delay on it. So I didn't want that sound of a delay typically bouncing from left and right. I wanted something less predictable. I wanted something more atmospheric and unusual. What I was able to do was use this reverb like I would almost like a delay. And how I've done this is, again, it's this pre-delay here. We've got a subdivision. The subdivision's a 16th note. So you get the dry sound and then you get the reverb, if you can imagine, behind that. And all I'm doing is using this room sound, Funk Closet, and it's just half a second long. So that's pretty short. Dialed in quite a lot of wet into this sound, and let's have a listen to how it sounds. So that's with it on, dry, with the reverb. Pretty cool, eh? So the Airwave 4-second reverb was absolutely perfect for this. I'm using pre-delay in subdivisions. This is 1/16, so keeping that attack dry. The other thing that I've done on here, I've got the low cut and the high cut. Now these are just filters, so you can remove unwanted frequencies. So even the filtering on this reverb just adds to the whole atmosphere. I love the sound of that. It's just so musical. It's not just clinically removing something, even though I'm taking something away, there's something being added as well in a really cool way. There's a little vocal here, and I think that could do with a splash of reverb, couldn't it? Let's have a listen. Now I'm just going to stick something on that. I fancy something with a bit of a tail. Let's try Studio A. That sounds very cool. Okay, now for the final piece of this reverb puzzle. So I'm using Legends Verb on my guitar now. So I'm just going to play the tone just dry. I'm going to stick the reverb on now on the program that I selected and have a listen. Sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? So I'll just take you through this preset that I made. The program that I chose was the Skyline. This is a 3.5 second reverb, so quite big. Again, I'm using that pre-delay. I find this feature so handy. When I'm playing guitar, that ducking is attenuating the reverb signal, so it's turning it down whilst I'm playing. And when I stop playing, the reverb comes up in volume and you get this wonderful explosion of emotion, of the emotion of reverb. The high cut and the low cut filters sound super musical. They don't kill the reverb tone at all. If anything, when you're cutting, it's adding a little bit more mojo. So try this reverb out. It is absolutely amazing, and this is going to be the only reverb that I'm going to be using from now on.
So I'm using Nunchuck on the default preset, and then we're just going to turn on Legends Verb. And that's the default program that's going to load. Up here we have our presets. We have dialed in a lot of different sort of variations to give you some good coverage, but the magic with Legends Verb is you have all of these programs to choose from. Now, this is not just one reverb with lots of different settings. Every program here is a complete different device dialed in differently, and we've taken care of all of the post-processing the modulation, the EQs, and even the side chaining can be done really easily inside of Legends Verb. Navigating these different programs, you can go left and right with the arrows here, or you can click on the screen and choose one. So here we have a program called Trinity Heights. Now, just to give you a little backstory on that particular program, because they all have these stories behind them, and that's where I recorded my first instrumental album, 91 and 95. It was just magical because we'd play guitar in a rehearsal studio and in your house, but you'd never get to hear your guitar through the console with these big, delicious reverbs swamping your tone. It's just amazing. So here we have that reverb that really was the inspiration behind a lot of the tracks on 91 and 95, like Heather on the Mountain. Let's get back to that default Outrun program and go through some of the controls. So we have balance. Low cut. Let me tap the guitars a little bit, you hear how that works. Very console-like filters. We were very careful with those filters. And as we get to the high cut, you can hear it smoothing out the reverb. All of these programs are already dialed in, so they should just sound great as they come, but it's great to have options. Here is a mono switch. Great if you just don't want that big, lush 3D sound. You want to just focus the reverb in the center of the mix. The input and output, pretty self-explanatory, right? But the ducking here is a very cool option. It actually sidechains to the input that goes into the reverb. Now, usually on a mixing console, to do that, you'd have to have your reverb on a return, then add a compressor, route that compressor to the input of the guitar track or vocal track. But here, it's just one knob, and it's super cool. What were those notes? So what that's doing is, if I turn up the amount, it's ducking the reverb whilst I'm playing. So great for explosive snares, getting the reverb out of the way whilst a vocal or a lead line or a riff's happening. But when you stop playing, it fills the space. It's really, really useful. And in this case, it's super easy to use. If you right click on a parameter, you can use the MIDI learn or head down to the MIDI section here where you can add any MIDI assignments that you would like. If you're using Legends Verb on an aux send or a bus in your DAW, then you can put it in the wet only mode, and that'll mean the reverb is completely wet. So that way you could use it on an aux send type of situation. And lastly, on the bottom right of the screen here, we have pre-delay. You can drag that up and down, and that's going to introduce some pre-delay to the reverb. You can actually sync that by clicking the sync button, and it'll actually sync to your DAW. Legends Verb is so versatile. If you want a massive snare track or a room ambience across an entire drum bus, or you want your vocals to have some lush 3D space, it's so versatile. From folk, metal, funk, just about anything that you can throw at, it'll sound fantastic on. It's very musical and very intuitive to use. The Vault 65, it's just pure vibes. In fact, that's the preset name. It's super cool. Of course, if you wanted to dial that back a little bit, filter it a little bit more, maybe put some ducking on so it's way more chilled, if you like. So using a clean tone from Loomis, turn on Legends Verb. So that's using the funk closet. Let's try the next space. Great space. Mainframe 76. With Legends Verb, we created a custom modulation engine just for the reverb tails, and I think with Outrun 84 you probably hear it the most. It's very airy and dreamy. And if you don't want to double track your guitars, or you want to add some extra depth and space to your guitar, check out the Burnley space. It's really musical and a great way of just pushing your guitar a little wider without double tracking it. So here it is off, very much in the center, and with Legends Verb on, now with these very short spaces, I prefer to have no pre-delay, because what you're trying to do is really just wrap that tight tone with a little bit of extra space, right? If I increase the pre-delay, it becomes more of a slapback, which might be the type of reverb that you want, but in this case, I want no pre-delay. I just want it really short. And I could even add some of the ducking to really get the early reflections away from the pick attack. Here's Mainframe 76 with Nunchuck. So there we go, guys. That is a little of what Legends Verb can do, from drums and percussion, synths and vocals, guitars and everything else, with 23 distinctive programs to choose from. I hope you get as much inspiration and use from it as we do. I know I just come in here and I dial in a simple nunchuck or Loomis tone and ride up that Legends Verb fader and just play and play and play, and I Hope it does the same for you. Enjoy, and I'll catch you back here real soon. Take care.